Okay, the meeting has now started recording. So while we wait for everyone, I think I'll just begin with the presentation. So today is the second session from College Access Nepal. Today we'll be going over extracurriculars, gap year, letter of recommendation, and the common app essay. While these are very important and tough topics, I will try to go through them in detail without wasting anyone's time. So the estimated time this presentation will take is around 1 hour. So by 9 p.m., I think I'll be done. If you have any questions, please use the Discord channel events queries. And then after the presentation has been completed, I'll go through the channel and then look at everything that's going on. In the meantime, we already have about 60 members. So I think I'll begin with the presentation. So hello everyone, I'm Dimple. I'm an admin at College Access Nepal. We are a Discord server that is dedicated to helping students get through the college application process, especially US application. So in today's session, we'll be going over extracurricular activities. These are probably for me, I think this is the most important thing in your application because academics only so much of your application. After that, we'll be going through gap year, whether you should take one or what you should do in the gap year and things like that. After that, letter of recommendations, whether it be from your teachers, from your counselors, and then finally the common app essay, which is probably the only place you can showcase your personality to everyone around in the application session. I missed the first session. Could you please go over? So to everyone who missed the first session, we already have the recording and the presentation in the Discord server itself. If you go through the events chat, you will find both of those. So you can go through both of those yourself. I will not be going through the first session in this session itself. So I think I'll begin. Everyone else will join as the meeting progresses. So extracurricular activities, I think in general, everyone knows what those are. These are the activities that you do outside of your class, whether it be in school or outside of school, whether it be student government, if you're the captain, or if you play football or if you play cricket, those are extracurriculars. If you take writing classes or if you teach writing or if you tutor in anything, that is also extracurriculars, or like public speaking, Moral United Nations. So all of those things that you take outside of your classroom that are somewhat related to your career or your ambitions. Those are all a part of extracurricular activities. So today I'll be talking about the two main debated types of extracurricular activities that is discussed in a college application. So the first is having a diverse set of extracurriculars, ECs as in extracurriculars. I guess you guys know that. So activity is divided into various different fields of interest. For example, being the president of physics club while playing a sport and writing a book on psychology. Obviously, this is a bit exaggerated for a high school student, but this is just for you guys to understand what a diverse EC looks like. So a student who has a diverse extracurricular is involved in various parts, various different topics, various different subjects. Like for example, if I was into physics and I was the president of physics club while also playing like football and then while also writing on psychology, that would be a very diverse ECs. Now, what is generally exclaimed in the college application process is that if you're applying to liberal arts colleges, then having a diverse EC is better, which may be the case for if you're from other countries. But I think when you're an international student from Nepal seeking almost full aid, I think having a spike is always better. So what is having a spike in your extracurricular activity? So being focused into one particular field and then going on to excel in that same particular field. For example, being a part of the math club for 4 years and then qualifying for the International Mathematics Olympiad. So what does this mean? So this means that ever since high school started, whether it be from grade 9 or from grade 11 in Nepal's case, you have been into one particular field. For example, let's say mathematics here, and then you have been doing different things in maths. Let's say whether it be being a part of maths club or joining maths competitions and then things like that, or tutoring maths even. And then you go on to excel in that field to the level that most people who apply to colleges cannot reach or have not reached. For example, the International Mathematics Olympiad, because this is a very prestigious tournament to be a part of, and you need a lot of dedication and a lot of time to be a part of this. And then you're representing your country, so it adds as an international honor to your application also. Now, what people usually mistake is when you have a spike, you don't need to develop other parts of your application, which is completely wrong. If you are strong in maths and if you have focus in maths, that's good. But you should also focus on some other things at least, whether it be like public speaking, even music, playing an instrument for a lot of years, maybe organizing events through the, like if you're playing guitar on the street and collecting the money and then donating the money to a charity, for example. Even those are the small things that you should maintain while having a spike, because having a spike is impressive. That is what most colleges look for. They want people who are already excelling in their fields, but they don't want someone who's very one dimensional. So they want someone to have a personality within themselves so that they can fit in the class as well. So while I do suggest everyone tries to have a spike, well, I mean, it doesn't have to be International Mathematics Olympiad or things like that, but then try having one particular interest that you like pursuing and then take it to the next level while also maintaining your academics and then relationship with the teachers and students, and being a part of student government, like captain or being the class representative. So do that. Now, a big tip. This is something you guys should remember, regardless of you whether you're chasing for a diverse EC or admin spike. Whatever the field you're pursuing, leadership is something all colleges value a lot. Try to bag yourself some executive and leadership positions in whatever you do. So this is simple and straightforward. Whatever you are doing, try to be the best at it. Try to be a leader, because leadership is a skill that all colleges, everyone values. Teachers, your peers, your call like admission officers, everyone likes to see some leadership in your application. For example, if you are part of math club, try to be the president, try to be the vice president, or just an executive member. Or if you play football, then try to be the captain of your football team or vice captain of your football team and things like that. And better yet, be the captain of your class if possible, or if it's too late, then just try to bag as many leadership roles as possible, because that will only and only benefit you in all corners of life. So moving on, the rarer your activity and accomplishment, the more you stand out. This is obvious. For example, if you have an award that every other person has, let's say if you were like third in an modern United Nations conference, and there are at least 1,000 other students who got the same award, then it's not going to be as special, right? Because at that point, everyone else has it. So the rarer your activity and accomplishment, like I said, International Mathematics Olympiad, that is one of the rarest achievements as a high school student you can take. So the more you stand out, the better it is. This is something very obvious. Try to receive some awards and honors in your fields of interest. They help out a lot for aid-seeking international students, especially. So what this means is try to gather as many awards as possible. It's very straightforward also, like the first point. For example, like small match tournaments, or like if you're playing an instrument, there are like talent shows at some places, some high schools. And then if you win the talent show, that is also one of the various awards you can choose. Try to win more academic awards, like in St. Xavier's, there used to be the Outstanding Student Award, and then in other colleges there are like best student of the year and things like that. So try to aim for those awards that maybe only one or two people from your school get, so they will help you stand out a lot. Leadership roles reflect your dedication in a particular field. Commit to activities you like and excel in them. This I've already talked about previously. Choose some activity that you very much like. For example, I like computer science, so I started the computer club at my school. So before that, there was no computer club. So I chose that field. I was the president and I tried to excel in it as much as possible. So that is something you guys should aim doing. So that is all for extracurriculars. If you guys have any questions, please do ask. Uh, I'll address them later. So after this, we have living the gap year life, or taking a gap year or not. Nepal is probably one of the only places that has so many gap year students. Everyone applying to colleges is at least 1 or 2 years into their gap years, which is not as common in other countries, because in other countries you usually find them either committing to their local colleges or like taking 1 year of gap max. But in Nepal, there is a very common trend of taking 2 and 3 years gap between their 12th and their enrollment in college. And then in those few years, they own their activities as much as possible and then try to make an application that is appealing to the admissions officers. So with that in mind, gap years often end up being the break you very desperately needed from the education system. However, it might also be the most stress-inducing year for you. So what I mean by this is gap year, if taken productively, often end up being the break you very much needed because especially in countries in South Asia like India and Nepal, there is a huge burden on students having to complete the course, having to study all the time because there's a lot of expectations from your parents and from your family members to get good grades, right? So why when you have been studying for 12, 13 years together and you need a break from the system, gap years obviously help you do that. They help you take a gap from the education itself and then try to explore your interest, try to explore your extracurricular activities. And when done properly, it is the best addition you can add to your application because in general, almost all Nepali applications I have seen, especially those that follow the NEB board, there is a heavy lack of extracurriculars. They're only focused on studying and academics, and then once they have good grades they still don't get into good colleges because as I said before, extracurriculars are a big part of your college application and you as a human. So they take those 1 or 2 years off their education and then focus on things they like physics, like maths, like music, and then they excel in them. So they often end up being very productive if you have it all planned out. However, it might also be the stress inducing year for you. So by saying this, I don't want to scare you off from taking a gap year, but this is the reality of things. Because when you take a gap year, there are a few of your like friends or a few of your seniors who are already in college. They're already having the time of their lives. You scroll through Instagram or you scroll through Facebook and you see their post all the time, and that is a constant reminder of where you want to be, but you are not yet, right? So there's always this gap between you and your friends, but that is all in your head. Once you get over the fact that it's nothing big, you can take 1 or 2 years off and still get into a great college and live a great life ahead. It becomes easy for you. But then there's also a lot of things you have to consider. For example, gap year is not a whole year off that you guys think. It's only like 5, 6 months off. And then after that, you have to continue the college application itself. So it's only gap 5, 6 months really. So in that small time frame, you have to fit in all your plans, and then you have to prepare for your college application also because there are early action, early decision that we have already gone through in the first session. So it's only 5, 6 months, and then in that few months you have to complete your goals if you try to get into a good college and then achieve your dreams. So it is very stress heavy no matter what you do. So that is also one thing to consider. Okay. So as I said before, gap year is not actually a whole year. So you have to strike a balance between things you can do, things you want to achieve, and things you can achieve. Remember, gap year lasts only a few months. So you cannot have unrealistic expectations. Like if you want to go into economics, you can't be like, I want to I want to be a founder of a startup, and then I also want to earn, let's say, $1 million, because that's not achievable in 5, 6 months, right? The executive like type things, like starting your own organization, starting your own startup, it takes a lot longer than just a few months, especially if you want to establish yourself. So be sure to make sure if you take a gap year, you have to strike a balance between what you can achieve and what you want to achieve. Otherwise, you either end up having a lot of leisure time because you set the bar too low, or else you live in stress every day because you cannot reach the goals you have set for yourself. So always try to strike a balance between those two things. Things to do in your gap year. So I'll just gloss through them. Boost your academic powers. You guys might be surprised because most people think your academic abilities are only reflected by your high school GPA, but that's not true. Score highly on your standardized tests like SATs, TOEFL, APs. I don't think you can take APs in Nepal except in Lincoln School, and even that has been not like available for everyone. TOEFL and SATs. TOEFL is not necessary in all the schools, but then obviously this is just an example. If you boost your SAT scores, it will obviously show you have more academic ability, and something that not many people think of, or like at least it's in trend now, but it was not a few years ago. That is, that is research papers. So when you have research into a field, let's say, especially theoretical fields like physics, it's much more of a testament to your dedication to that subject and your ability to excel in that particular academic field. So even though it's an extracurricular activity, research papers usually boost your academic prowess and then your academic abilities, and then your AOs will appreciate if you have that. And then if you are taking a gap year, especially, you have a few months to work on research papers, even though they might not be full-fledged research papers from like PhD students, but then a research paper that is well done is obviously always appreciated. So extracurriculars, form or join well-established organizations, plus get an executive role. While this is not necessary, I think if you are taking a gap year, getting an executive role is very, very crucial for your future and how you dictate things in your life. You either form or join well-established organizations. Again, as I said before, it's not very easy to form an organization and then take it to the next level. However, if you want to do it in a couple of gap years, then that is also fine, right? And then obviously do passion projects like writing books for English majors and making games for CS majors. So this is very self-explanatory. Yeah, that's about it. If you have any questions, please go ahead and type in the chat box. But for now, I'm moving on to example of gap year ECs. I'll quickly go cross through them and then move on to the next topic. Research papers, working with NGOs. This will boost everything you want, especially your community service activities. Not because you have to do it for college, but do it because you want to help people, and helping people will really, really make you feel better about yourself and the gap year. Writing books and articles. Books writing is very difficult, but has been done before. Teaching, tutoring, studying your this. I've gone through all of them, so read it. So moving on, letter of recommendation. So this is something that is very trivial because I keep getting asked on Discord and Instagram on students asking if it's fine to write your own letter of recommendation, and if I'm writing my own letter of recommendation, what should I include in them? So my answer to all of those is, as far as possible, always make your teachers or your counselors or the respective personnel, make them write the LORs, because it becomes very obvious to differentiate whether a student wrote the LOR or the teacher. Instead, give them pointers. I'll explain what pointers are, but then this is something that you guys have to keep in mind, because I myself, I have read a few LORs that are from students and teachers, and it becomes painfully obvious if the student has written his own letter of recommendation or if a experienced teacher has written the LOR, right? So always try to make your teachers write them, even if they like say no at first. Try to ask them very nicely, keep asking them, don't tag them though, because having good relationship with the teacher is also very important in the college application journey, because not only will they guide you, they can also like help you meet people who have already gone through the journey or write better letter of recommendations. And this is very important, by the way. People think this is like secondary requirement, but it's not. Colleges look at everything in almost the same light, and then this is a part of who you are. And especially because this is the only thing that shows how you are in class, that comes for a third party that they believe in, that is being your teacher, right? So this is very important. So make sure you have a good relationship with the teacher. So what are pointers, right? So what are pointers? So these are the three things you to send to your teacher for the letter of recommendation. So pointers, I would say, is just one simple page of things that you write and send your teacher that they should include in the letter of recommendation. So instead of writing the whole letter yourself, you can just tell your teachers what you want them to include in it. Like give your teachers a list of your activities. For example, if you have done something very important, make sure you write those activities down and tell your teachers to include them, so that the teachers can verify the activity on your behalf, and then the teacher can also tell like how dedicated you have been towards that activity. Let's say you tutor your juniors, so your teachers can be like, yes, he has been tutoring students for long and he's very good at it and he dedicates a lot of hours, blah, 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 blah. So this is one thing you can do. The second thing, tell your teacher to mention specific events in the class that praise you. So what I mean by this is there is a letter of recommendation is always at its highest point when there are small events that happen in class that show you are a good student or show you are a student who is willing to go the extra mile that other students are not, because no matter whatever way you put it, college application is a race, it is a competition, and then for you to be getting into good colleges you have to be better than the average student that goes to high school, right? So tell your teacher to mention specific events in the class that praise you. For example, if you submitted a project maybe 2 3 weeks before it was supposed to be submitted or things like that, anything that just paints you in a good light, that admission officers will look at and then be like, yes, this is a student that I want in my class. I want a student that goes the extra mile in my class, right? And the third thing is give them your essay to see what to focus on about your personality. So essays are the only place where you can showcase your personality yourself, right? So if you, as I said before, if you have a good relationship with any of your teachers, or if you trust them enough to give them an essay, I would always recommend you to do that, because they know what you want to show the college, and then they can include those points or include that perspective in their letter as well. So instead of writing a letter, what you're doing is you're giving them everything you would have written in the letter, but it's written in their words. Okay, so when admission officers read it, they know a teacher has written it, but they also know everything good about you that you wanted to tell them anyways, right? So that is what I always tell students: instead of writing your own recommendation letters, always make sure to give the pointers instead and let your teachers write it. Common app essay, I have a few questions. So I have one question that is, I have average grades but impressive ECA. Will that affect my application, right? So before I get into essay, I think I'll address that. So I have average grades but impressive ECS. So one thing I would like to tell you guys straight up is, if you have really poor grades, I don't think anything can cover for that, because colleges at the end of the day, no matter how you put it, is a place to study. It is an educational institution, right? So if you are going to be there, you are going to be there to study, to pursue your education. So having good grades is not a bonus to your application. It is literally just a basic requirement, right? But if you have average grades and impressive ECs, now that will also depend from college to college. As I said before, things you can do to improve your academic uh, standing is do very well on your stats. If you have low stats, although you cannot cover for your GPA with a good SAT score, that is completely a myth. You can still boost your academic standing, and then along with that, do some research that will show your passion in that particular field. And then along with that, if you have impressive ECs, that's even better, because ECs are the things that differentiate one student from the other, especially in a country like Nepal, where almost half the students have the same grade range and things like that, right? So that's about it. So let's get into the common app essay. So everyone gets the same prompts. So be unique and show your story through your writing. So what I mean by that is, firstly, let me go through what a common app essay is. So a common app is a portal where you submit college applications. It's like a website that has a list of all the colleges that you have to apply to, and then you select the colleges which you want to apply to, right? So in that website, there is a space for you to write your college application. So the word limit is 650 words, and there are like 7 prompts, which are, excuse me, which are almost the same every year, right? So everyone in the whole world gets the same 7 prompts to write on. So you have to make sure the story you are saying is very unique to you. It shows you as a person, it shows your growth. Because imagine hundreds of thousands of students having the same 1 or 2 essays to write on, right? There will be overlaps. There will be a lot of overlaps. In fact, even I have read at least 500 essays because of Discord and going through online forums and things like that. And it's very easy to pick out the common factors that persist in every other essay, right? Especially in like Nepali students, you can see almost everyone has the same essay, same generic essay. So the number one tip is always to stand out, be unique, and especially don't plagiarize, right? So one thing that high school students do tend to do a lot is they go through a website and they see a good part of the essay and they want to be like, I want to put this part of the essay and then take it and then make it my own and then put it in my own essay, which sounds like a good idea, but it is not, right? Because almost everyone that tries to do that gets caught, because it's very obvious when a paragraph in your essay is not your own paragraph, because you have to remember everything you're writing from your own perspective, whether it be college essays, whether it be supplemental essays and things like that. So when a piece of puzzle doesn't fit in your story, it sticks out like a sore thumb, right? So never plagiarize, no matter how impressive the essay in front of you is. Always make sure it's unique, and you are unique. Everyone has lived a different life, so everyone has lived through different stories to tell. So you'll be fine if you just stick to yourself, think for a while, and do the right thing. So this is one tip that you will hear time and again. Almost everyone you ask will tell you the same thing: how to make your college essay better. Show and not tell. So this is an example I have said. This is not the like. This is not what I have written. This is just an example I found online. So firstly, I'll tell you what show not tell is. So that basically means you have to pull the reader in your headspace, right? What you are seeing, what you felt at that moment, instead of just saying, oh, I felt very sad when I got bad grades. You take them through a journey, right? You tell them a story about how you as a 15-year-old felt when you faced failure for the first time, right? So what that does is, instead of it just being like an academic essay that you write, it becomes a story to tell. It becomes personal. It becomes about you. There is a different kind of attachment the AO feels towards you if you are able to tell a story well. If you have read essays that are very good, that have gotten people into great colleges, one thing you'll realize is they always they always make sure you feel what they're feeling. Like, they put you in the environment they were in, and they make sure that they convey their message really well. They make sure you feel the same things they were feeling. Like, if they were seeing the red flag of Nepal flying high while they hear gunshots from the insurgency and things like that, that is so much more interesting than saying, oh, I was just growing up during the insurgency, right? Because obviously we are humans. Everyone likes stories. Everyone likes to feel compassion towards each other and things like that. uh, so this is one example that I have. uh, Wait, there are a lot of questions. I'll address all those questions later on. So as I entered the double doors, the smell of freshly rolled biscuits hits me almost instantly. I traced the fan blades as they swing above me, emitting a low, repetitive hum resembling a faint melody. So, as I said, you could have just said I was laying in my bed on a Saturday, right? Like, I don't know what this is about, but like, you could have just said that, and that would have been it. But then the author decides to take us through his journey, through their own journey, right? And then put us in the space where they were in. As they enter the double doors, the smell of freshly rolled biscuits hits me almost instantly. So when you read this, whether you are whether you are an admission officer or whether you are a student, right? Whether you are a teacher, an image instantly forms in your head. Okay? When you're reading this, the thing you think about is entering through a double door, and then you feel how the smell of freshly rolled biscuits hit you, right? It takes you through a whole journey instead of just being like, I walked through the door. After bringing our usual order, the tale gets special to my father. My father begins discussing the recent performance of this, right? So notice how he's taking you through the events that happen. So instead of his father, him saying, we just got our food and my father started talking to me, he says what he ordered. He says what his father was talking about. He says, it sets the environment, which is a big part of writing an essay. setting the environment, telling everyone who you are with your family, with his mother, himself, his older 11-year-old sister, and things like that, right? So show not tell in basic words is basically walking the person through your own shoes, making them feel the environment around you, making sure they know what you feel, right? So that every emotion you feel is heightened that way. So what makes a good essay, right? So first thing you have to do is reflect on your experiences, explain your growth through that experience. So the previous essay that I showed, it shows an experience, right? But then the biggest part of your essay is writing a story and then reflecting on the story also. Because if you just have a story, that is meaningless. You also have to show how you have grown from that event, how that baseball hit in your head changed your life forever. But like, how did it change your life? How did it change your social belongings? How did it change your perspective on life and things like that? So having just a good story in your essay is never enough. You have to write the whole experience of how you learned through that particular event in your life, how you have taken so many lessons from that lesson from that door in your life, right? So the first thing you do is you have to think about one or two particular stories that you want to tell the world, right? It's, for example, if you had a really bad injury in football. While that is a very common thing to happen, and a lot of athletes write about like football injuries and things like that, you have the chance to make it your own by reflecting on that event, right? So it's very possible that the story you choose at least overlaps in some way or the other with someone else's story, right? So to be unique, you have to show your personality, show how you have grown as a person because of that event. So the first thing I would recommend you to do is go through all the events in your life that you consider significant, right? So everything that has led you to be here at this very moment, watching this presentation, every major event in your life that's important to you, I think you should just think about it and write it down so you don't forget the details. So three, four events, and then pick a few that have influenced you the most, right? For example, I had a football injury that had my face cut open and I had to stitch it, right? So that taught me a lot about life. And then that was one of the major events that shaped how I grew up as a human, right? And then there are a few stories in everyone's life that have shaped them significantly. And then I think having a personal story like that always benefits. And then after you have decided what story you want to write on, write about everything that you have learned from it, like how you have grown from that event, and then just reflect on it and put your personality in your paper, right? Second is be honest, portray your true self. As I said, everyone around the whole world gets the same 5 6 topics to write on, and even then there are only like 3 topics that everyone writes on, right? So it's literally hundreds of thousands of students writing on the same 3 topics. So if you are not true to yourself, if you are not honest to yourself, and if you're trying to be someone else that you are not, just because, like, let's say your cousin brother got into Harvard and you want to get into Harvard also. So you look at this essay and then you try to figure out, oh, he was saying how he's kind, so I'll write about being kind in my essay, or he was saying how he likes maths in his essay, so I'll write about that too. That's the worst way to go about it. Make sure you portray your true self, and then everything that's unique to you, that makes you a special human being, because that is the only way you are going to get in college, if I'm being honest. Because if your like cousin brother who got into Harvard also had an essay that resembled someone else, then you would not have gotten it. What colleges want is a well-rounded class where each individual is different from the other and has a different speciality. So always portray your true self. Start early, make many drafts, edit those drafts till you are satisfied. So this is very simple. If possible, the exercise I told you guys about, just going through your life in general, try to do it today itself. Why not? And then try to write a draft today night by like 12 a.m. And then when you wake up tomorrow, you're not gonna like that essay, because that is a normal human tendency. You write one essay, you don't like it at all. But then instead of just scraping it as a whole, reflect on what you liked about your essay, what you didn't like about your essay, and what you can definitely change about the essay. Take the good parts, remove the bad parts, and exchange them with other better parts. And then the more times you do it, the better your essay becomes, right? That's very obvious. It's like revising for an exam. Yeah, you can read the whole book once, but that's not gonna give you an A plus. You have to revise it again and again. So the same thing is with essays. You write one draft, you wake up the next morning, you will not like that draft, I will assure you. And then after 2 3 days, you will figure out what's wrong with it, and then you start making changes. And then by the time you are finished doing your essays, the college deadlines are already there and you won't even realize it. So it's always better to start early, right? And something that I've not mentioned here, but you should remember, is after you think you've reached a final draft, it's always a good practice to show it to maybe one friend that you really trust and one teacher that you really like, because it's also important to get the perspective of a formal teacher going through your essay, and also of a formal friend going through your essay, right? Because though they will be able to give you insight that you never could, because once you have written an essay, it's very hard to look at it from a three-dimensional perspective. So other people who have had other experiences and who have not invested as much time in your essay as you have, they will obviously have a better insight on what to improve, on what you're lacking, and what they think of the essay in and of itself. So instead of just saying, "Oh, it's my essay, I know it's good," it's always better to show someone else your essay and ask what they think about it. And again, another important tip is, don't show it to too many people, because too many cooks spoil the broth, right? If many people look at it, many people give you different perspectives, it will mess up with your mind, and you'll try to change every single thing they want you to change. And then by the time you're done changing that, it's no more your essay, it's no more your personal essay. It's just the essay of six different friends that you asked to review, right? And then the other thing is, if you're asking people to review your essay, take it with a grain of salt. Not everything they say will be accurate. Not every advice they give you will be something that you have to implement. Take their advice, and then you look at it from their lens. Oh, they said the intro is too short. Is it too short? Do I have to extend it, or does it portray my introduction very well? Right. So you have to take things they say and then think about that in a critical manner, because after all, it's your essay, right? You have to make sure it's personal at the end of the day too. Fourth tip, do not try to include your whole life story. Be succinct. So what I mean by be succinct is exactly that. Don't try to include all your life experiences, because 650 words, while it may seem like a lot when you start writing it, it's really limited space. You will struggle fitting your whole essay into the 650 words very hard, because as I said, I've looked at hundreds of essays, and almost everyone that sends their like second last or third last draft, they have always been over the word limit. They are like 720 words, and they're like 70 words. Kata kata bata katne. Where do you want me to shorten the essay from? And they're like, Kotako experience is not shining particularly well. So the more stories you include, the harder it will be to fit your essay into the word limit, especially when your focus should be on the reflection of the story, right? And the ratio of your story to reflection should also be very like, it should be around 50-50, I would say. Don't make your story too long to the point that your reflection is very short, because at that point it's just a storybook. It's not your personality. It's not anything that makes you unique. It's just a story. And then don't make your reflection too long, because you need proper context to what you're reflecting also. So that's that. Try to include one like main story that you want to, main life experience that you want to portray, and like one or two additional smaller life experiences that have contributed to your learning as a person. Fifth, make it personal as possible. So being vulnerable is argued. It's still argued whether you should be very open and personal in your essay or not. What I would say is, be as open as it is as appropriate. Like, do not uh, do not tell things that would put you in bad light, right? Like, although I said be honest, I'm not asking you to put yourself in a bad light, because at the end of the day, make sure all your good qualities jump out and all your bad qualities have either you have learned from and erase them from your life, or they're not mentioned at all. Because at that point you're gonna get rejected if you're straight up like, oh, I miss my deadlines on a daily, or oh, I spend my whole day playing video games and football and I never study but I still pass. Like, it might seem like a flex to you, but then that's very stupid, because in college you have to work on a daily, and colleges want students that will excel in life, so that like later on the college gains reputation from you, right? So that's the long goal. So make sure you portray yourself in a good light and make it personal, as appropriate as possible also. So with that, I would just like to end with the best essay resources, and the first one is College Essay Guide. This is by far the only resource you would probably need in your college search, right? So if you're writing an essay, I would personally recommend you to only check out College Essay Guy. He has a few videos on YouTube where he gives you a couple of exercises that help you reflect in life, right? So you have to go through that, and if you want, you can also go through his book. The book is very long, let me tell you, but it also almost guarantees you will have a good essay if you follow everything that has been written in the book, right? Because there are examples of good essays, there are examples of bad essays, and there are a lot of tips that I cannot cover in 1 hour, because I do not want the presentation to be long, right? But the book wants you to be in depth with the process as much as possible. So College Essay Guide, you guys can note it down, write it down, or search him up right now. So he has a couple of exercises on YouTube. Definitely try that out. He has blogs on almost every type of essay and every prompt that I mentioned before. There are 7 prompts, and almost every prompt he has a loose guide on what to do. And then there's a book. I don't know if the book is available on Discord anymore, but it was before. The second is College Vine blogs. So they have after the College essay guide, all of these are like great resources, but there are some things in them that I disagree with. So if you're looking at the other 4 resources, you have to take them with a grain of salt and think critically of them also. So College Vine usually has, like, if you are writing supplemental essays, which although it's not a part of the presentation, I will tell you personally, please, 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 any supplemental essay there is, write it anyhow, somehow, make it good, because that will help you a ton. So College Vine usually has a prompt for every college, and then they have it divided into like groups, or like, let's say Harvard has 3 essays, and they're like, how do you write those 3 essays, and they have all those explanations. So that's a great resource. Spiritual Review has a lot of tips on them for anything, SAT, essays, anything. So college websites accepted student essays section. So this is something like, if you, let's say, okay, since I've been saying Harvard since the beginning, let's say if you want to apply to Hamilton College, right? Hamilton College is a liberal arts college. If you go to their website, they have an accepted students essays list, and almost all the colleges that you apply to, like John Hopkins also has it. I have seen all those college websites. So once you enter the college website, you can almost certainly find a section where they have the essays of students that were accepted, right? So let's say if I was accepted into one of those colleges, they'll have my essay there, and you all can see the essays of students who were accepted into those colleges. So as I said before, don't try to copy them or try to inculcate their experiences into your own, but then they give you a general idea about what makes a good essay. For example, a good story, a good reflection, the use of metaphors, but to a limit only, and then making sure you activate all your senses, like what you are seeing, you are writing, what you hear, you're writing. So things like that. So if you just search like Hamilton College accepted students essays, there's a website that comes through. So the fifth is Khan Academy. Khan Academy, like Rich Review, is good for everything, like even for your coursework. So, and there's one question: can we send the same essay to all of the colleges we apply to? or do we need to write multiple essays for different colleges? So for the common app essay that I have covered, the 650 word essay is the same for everyone, right? So you write one essay and then you send it to different colleges. Like if you're applying to 20 colleges, 20 is the limit. You send the same essay to all the 20 colleges. So you can choose to write a different one, but I don't see the point in that. Just write one good essay and then just send it to all the colleges. But then the supplemental essays that I mentioned, that is different for each college, and I beg you to write a different essay for each one if it's a supplemental essay, because you have to highlight the uniqueness of your college and your application both. So supplemental essays write different for different one, and common app essay you can send the same one to all the different colleges. So we've has been going on for around 15 minutes. Um, so this is something I've already covered. Start the essay very early. Make many edits and drafts, as many as you wish, as many as you think is necessary for it to be a good essay, right? Get the opinion of other seniors and teachers. So as I said, get 2 or 3 people at max that you know the best and that you know are qualified enough to judge your essay, and then do that, and then finalize your essay and then send them to all your colleges. So for now, it's been 15 minutes. So I would like to give 10 to 15 minutes to questions. So if you guys have any questions, please ask them. I think I'll stop sharing my screen because the interface really makes it difficult for me to read questions. So there's a question from BJ Bandari. My essay seems more than simple. It defines me well, but it isn't that great like I see in the internet. Any suggestions on this? So the first thing I would like to tell you is your essay, the contents of your essay matter much more than how you write it. This might be debated by other people, but if you have a good essay and if the story is good and if the reflection is good, then it doesn't matter if you're using fancy words or if you're using fancy grammatical connotations to it, right? Because even like it's better not to use heavy words, because I know people who write the words and you open thesaurus or dictionary and then they choose the complex version of the words and then put it in their essay, which makes the essay seem very fake, right? Which is the complete opposite of everything I've told you, which is to be yourself, write an essay how you usually write an essay, be honest in it, include words that you would almost use every day. You can use higher level words, but that does not necessarily elevate the level of your essay, right? So one of the reasons you cannot maybe essay seems more than simple compared to other people on the internet is because the people who put their essays on the internet are the best of the best. Like for example, even the Hamilton website, right? Like thousands of students get accepted, thousands of students study in the college, right? But there are only 5 to 6 essays on the website because those are the 5 6 essays that have the best writing to them, that have the best stories to them, right? So obviously those are not the only people who got accepted, so you have to keep that in mind as you go through them as well. Other than that, do everything I've said. Send them to your colleagues, send them to one of your like teachers, English teacher or one teacher that you know really well, and then make them judge your essay and then tell them to be honest, right? So what else? What should I? This is a question from Sambuddha Bhushan. What should I use to write my essay? Copy, MS Word, WordPad. What did you use? So you can literally use anything because you have to copy paste your essay into the box anyways. So it doesn't matter. I use Google Docs because Google Docs has the best interface, I believe. And then it's also easy for me to just send the Google Docs link to my friends or to my teachers for them to make edits and for them to leave comments. So if you want to take my word, always use Google Docs because it's so convenient for you to leave comments in there or make edits in there, and also it's very easy for you to come back and write, and it's very comfortable. MS Word, WordPad, please don't use it. It's disgusting to use that as and from an interface point. What about going SAT optional? Don't Just don't go SAT optional. Like I don't see the point in going SAT optional. The only thing it would reflect now is that you are not good enough to score well on the SAT, or if you're lazy to take the SAT, both of which are very, very bad things for you. I mean, a couple of years ago, or like last year also, it was acceptable because the SAT centers were literally closed. So you could not take the SAT. So if you cannot take the SAT, like you will not have a SAT score, right? But now, even though it's optional, I don't see the point in you not taking the SAT, especially since I've told how it boosts your academic standing. For example, having a 4.0 GPA is very impressive, but having a 4.0 and like 15 or 50 is much more impressive than just having a 4.0, right? Because the point of SAT is to standardize your like scores. Even though SAT's value is going lower, it's evidently going lower than people used to take SAT. SAT is still, it standardizes your score, right? Because like let's say St. Xavier's and other some other NEB college, right? So grading curve in St. Xavier's is going to be much tougher than let's say a government school, right? So there's things like that. Obviously, it may or may not be true. I'm just taking an example. So the SAT, like take the SAT. Just don't don't think of skipping it. How to improve your vocabulary? Just read books, read a lot of books, as many books as you want, whether it be scientific, whether it be non-fictional, fictional, anything. Just read books, and you will eventually find words that you like that you don't know, and you look them up, and then that's how you build your vocabulary. That's how I built my vocabulary. um, should I take the ACT? It's your wish. Well, then I would prefer SAT, because if you have SAT, then you can use the same score to apply to Europe and then India as well. If it doesn't work out, because in all honesty, USA is a very tough process. It's not as easy as you would think when you first begin. A lot of people don't get the colleges they want. So always give the SAT, I would say, because it keeps your options open if you want to apply to other countries. So I joined A levels in 2019, and because of COVID, I finished my A levels in 2021 May June, right? So if you apply in fall 2023, then how many gap years I should consider? Because it makes it two gap years, because gap year is considered like when you graduate, that is when your gap year begins if you don't immediately start. So if you started in 2021 and if you're applying in 2023, that is 2 years gap. The next thing, if I keep losing my track throughout the story, should I switch my topic? I try to connect myself to an object and describe my challenge on the school. And I'm confused. If you are confused by your own story, I don't think you should tell that story, because like the point of you telling your story is because you know it the best, and you know it thoroughly, and you know each and every moment of how you live through it. For example, like I gave you the example of me being hit on my like face by the foot and it being stitched open while playing football, right? So I remember each and every second of it. So I think that's one thing you should keep in mind. If you are getting confused for your own story, maybe you should reconsider it. IELTS is not needed for US, right? No, but some colleges may ask for it. It differs from college to college. If you have general questions, please ask them in the survey itself. I want to, because I don't want to waste anyone else's time. So can you please, so I don't see any other questions regarding the session. If you have general questions about colleges or about IELTS and TOEFL, please ask it in the Discord server itself, right? TOEFL is better or IELTS, whichever one you want to take. Doesn't make a difference. I don't know. If there are any other questions, please ask quick, because it's nearly 9 p.m. and I told everyone that I'll finish the session by 9 p.m. Are there any other questions? I'll wait for 1 more minute. Right? Checking the Discord also. I don't think the Discord has any questions. Yeah, is SOP needed? So SOP is same as the Common App essay. So it is required in almost all the colleges, and you just write it. Like it's not that hard. It will boost your application significantly. College essay prompts. So go to Common App and then you will find all the college prompts right there. So it's I don't know them by heart at all because I don't know. Like that's not the point, right? It remains the same almost every time. And one of the prompts is the seventh prompt is always write about anything you like. So if you don't have any story to tell, you can always just write about anything you like. But I would not recommend that. How to improve writing applications? Okay, so that's a good question. So my advice would be to simply start writing, write your essay, go through it multiple times and compare them to, don't like directly compare them, but then see what others are doing and why their essay is good. And you have to be critical of your own work, right? So only when you start being critical of your own work can you really like explore your potential as a writer. I have written in many competitions, and the only reason I have won them is because I'm critical of what I write. I don't blindly just write a statement and get satisfied with it. I try to see how to make the statement better, see what is lacking in the statement, see what is lacking in the paragraph. So be critical of your writing, write a lot, and then you will naturally improve like at any other thing in life. I do have good ECAs, but cannot show it in my essays. What should I do? You don't have to show your extracurriculars in your essay because there's a different subcategory in the website itself where you have to list down your extracurriculars, right? So if you cannot explain your extracurriculars in your essays, that's good because you don't have to. You literally don't have to. There's a list of 10 slots where you can put in all your extracurriculars, and then if you want one or two that helped you out the most, then you can mention those in your essay because there's already a different subcategory for that. If the teachers do not have the mail of the school, does it make LOR credibility drop significantly? No, not significantly. But if it's possible, then always try to make sure they use their official school email. But then as long as it has the stamp of the school or the signature of the teacher and the contact info of the teacher, then you should be good. It does not make much of a difference. That is a big myth. You don't need a school email because most schools in Nepal don't have emails at all. Does reading novels or books improve our ability to write good essays? Yes, simply yes. I want volunteer teacher, research paper. So if you have personal questions regarding your like मेरो यस्तो यस्तो छ मेरो यो EC छ यो छ यो छ then you can just ask them directly to my Discord. It's Dimple in the Discord as well, and my name is on the top of the server because I'm the admin. So just shoot me up in the question if you have general questions. I'll address them. Are the ECs good enough to be listed even if it hasn't been long since we started doing it? Yes. In general, the longer you have done your EC, the better, right? Because simply it shows more commitment, right? It's so if you have, like, let's say if I started teaching and if you started teaching, but I've been doing it for 5 years and you've been doing it for like 12 months, right? Your teaching is also good and my teaching is also good, but I'm much more dedicated to it, right? Because I've been doing it for a long time. So having a EC that you have done for a long time is always good. But if you have not done it for a long time, then it's not bad as well, because my most significant ECs were founding an organization that went to like 50 countries, right? But I expanded to 50 countries in 1-2 years itself. So in that case, it's fine, right? You don't have to need the longevity as long as your demands and as long as your goals were met. Uh, how to improve connection with teachers? I think if you are in grade 12, it's a bit too late for that, but literally just be nice to them. If you don't understand something in class, text them directly, be nicer to them. Nepali schools have a very poor culture of treating their teachers very poorly. Don't conform to that. Be nice to the teachers. They're there to teach you. Just literally all you have to do is be a nice human. Just talk to them properly. Talk to them after class if you have any questions. And then it's just like that. They're like your friends. They're like normal people, right? As long as you're good to them, they're good to you also. So how you would maintain a good relationship with anyone the same rules apply to your teachers as well. Never had any ECs done. How should I make up for that? Do more ECs. I gave you the list of ECs that you can pursue. Also, by the way, if you guys want to leave, please feel free to leave. I don't want to hold you guys for no reason. The session has ended. Thank you all for coming. I didn't expect like almost 100 people to show up. So have a good night. Have a great day. If you have any questions, I'm always here for you. What is your real name? I will not be answering that. Uh, I don't know why you would ask that. My school teacher stated to write LORR substance, ask a signature, and recommendation to write. So, see, as I said, as long as possible, don't write your essay, okay, LOR itself. Give them pointers, like give them everything you want to include in the LOR, and just tell them to write it themselves. Other than that, I think everything has been covered. I will send the link of the presentation later on. If you have any questions, hit me up on Discord. Thank you all for coming. Hope you guys have a good night, good dinner, and good luck for your college application. I will end the meeting soon. Thank you. Thank you all for coming also.